And now, if you all would be seated for just a moment, John Kenworthy is going to share with us some things about world hunger.
Good morning. So I'm John Kenworthy. I'm your representative on the Trinity Council for Outreach. So outreach means reaching out, literally, to other people in need. So I had the great blessing of being able to go to the Greater Milwaukee Synod Assembly, where we lifted up the idea of world hunger. They brought to us as a project and as a program the idea of renewing, refreshing, and remembering what we have done in terms of world hunger. And so, as Trinity, we've been a part of that. So if we could move the slides back down here for a moment. Anything we do that has to do with outreach has a scriptural component. It has Christ in the middle of it. So for world hunger, we take Matthew 25:40, and we lift up, "Truly I tell you, just as you did it to one of the least of these, brothers and sisters of mine, you did it to me." Now, first off, I have to apologize because I have a problem with a bit of this. I have a problem with the translation of this a little bit. So, me being me, I went back to the Greek and I looked at the translation of that line, "one of the least of these." And it's ton, adelphon, muton, elechiston. And the word elechiston does translate to the least of these, but it can also be the smallest of these, the weakest of these, or the one that I think is most relevant, the most vulnerable of these. The reason I like this more is because nobody is the least of these. Nobody. So with that in mind, our Lutheran predecessors in the church, 50 years ago, in 1974, had their first World Hunger Initiative. They lifted up Matthew 25:40 with their idea of bringing that to the people. And for 50 years, we have been doing that. And Trinity has been a part of that. We have the food pantry. We have Family Promise. Those are ways of dealing with food insecurity and hunger. Now, 50 years ago, they didn't really have the phrase food insecurity. We hear that all the time now. We had hunger. We know what hunger is, but what is food insecurity? That's kind of a clunky phrase, and I had to look up the history of it. And the history of it is that the U.S. Department of Agriculture in 2006 created this phrase where it's a household-level economic and social condition of limited or uncertain access to adequate food. Ironically, that's kind of a mouthful. It can be a lot more simple than that. It's basically when folks don't know from where their next meal is coming. It's as simple as that. When folks don't know from where their next meal will come. We all know what hunger is. The consequence of food insecurity is hunger. We know around the world and here what that means. It is estimated that 820 million people in this world are experiencing food insecurity every day. 820 million people. And in case we get a little smug about that and we say, oh, those are the people over in those third world countries and all, that's also 16.67% of our population dealing with food insecurity. That's 1 in 6 people. Now imagine each of these pews can hold 6 people. Imagine one person at the inside of every pew going down that has food insecurity on a daily basis. Imagine that. And that's here in the U.S. That's here in Wisconsin. That's here in West Bend. And that's here in our congregation. It's not an others problem. It's a we problem. It's a we challenge. You know, 820 million is a number that I can't get my arms around. It's too big. 820000000. That is a statistic. Mark Twain once said that there are three types of lies. There are lies, damn lies, and statistics. That is a statistic. We don't know what that means on a real level. We don't know what 820 million people experiencing food insecurity means. But we know what one person with food insecurity means. One person can touch our heart. 820 million is only a number. I want you to do a little experiment with me, if you would, please. I want you to close your eyes and imagine that that one person is you. Imagine that you are facing food insecurity and the moon casts a soft glow as you lie awake deep at night. Hunger pangs keep you restless, on edge. Picture your surroundings, the dimly lit room, the shadows dancing on the walls, the stillness of the night enveloping you. Envision the ache in your belly, the emptiness that seems to consume you from within, that gnawing need for sustenance. Feel that longing for a warm meal, the flavors and textures vivid in your mind. Sense the anticipation of nourishment that doesn't come. Visualize the search for food, the uncertainty of where to find it, the constant fear of not having enough to eat. Contemplate the real human burden of food insecurity, the heavy weight of worry and anxiety that follows you throughout the day, every day. You are not a statistic. You are our neighbor. Reflect now, dear neighbor, on that innate yearning for hope for a brighter future, hope for the resilience that will keep you going despite these challenges. And now, open your eyes again and look around you. See that hope made manifest in your siblings sitting in the pews with you. Visualize the loving vision of Christ bringing that hope for food security around the world and here. Perhaps in this small way, we can understand why 50 years of World Hunger initiatives are important, why they're important not just out there, but in here. So the next 4 months, at the end of every month, we'll be having a temple talk. I'll tell you right now, they won't be as long as this one, so don't worry. And we'll talk about different things. We'll structure it as PACE, P-A-C-E. Pray, act, connect, educate, to lift up world hunger here and everywhere. And here's a little video that the Synod put together. So that's where we stand for the World Hunger Initiative.